What's up? What's up, every pony? This is the poop man here. Okay, I got that out of my system, so... What am I doing? I want to work on some weapons. I know I was working on a multiplayer map last stream, but here's the thing. I do Halo modding for fun. And it's a leisurely activity. So when it comes to Halo modding, I'm going to do what I want to do at any given moment. So I wanted to take a break. I have been working on Relic off stream, which is kind of why I want to take a break from it. But I've also been working on something else. Let's see here. Let's see. As you can see, I have Halo 3 Sapien opened up. Okay, so here's Riverworld. I mean Valhalla. I've gotten to the point with Halo modding to where I've looked at the internal names of all of the maps so much that I'm forgetting like the actual name of the maps. I have Riverworld up here in Sapien because I have a little something I want to show you that I've been working on. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to be streaming for 8 hours like I have the last 2 streams. This is going to be like a 2-hour stream. And that's how I want to keep the streams. I don't want to go like too insane with them anymore. So the Chunkier Bean who's a guy who's made Halo mods, and he's made some guides on YouTube. I wanted to make something where I could just test shaders out, and so I followed his tutorial on creating your own scenery object, importing it. And so I did pretty much exactly what he did. I brought in Suzanne the monkey from Blender, and let me add my monkey. Now, one thing about my monkey is that I've already started building shaders. And I made a custom texture. So this stream is called something like giving the Needler, the Halo 3 Needler, a new look. My favorite version of the Needler, like look-wise, I mean visually, I would say probably my favorite Needler would be either the Halo 3 or Halo ODST or Halo Reach Needler, because I would say pre-Halo 3 the Needler kind of sucked as a weapon. The projectiles were way too slow. But visually, I really like the look of the Halo 1 Needler. It looks like very alien, and then with Halo 2 they made the Needler just kind of pink. I want to recreate the look of the Halo 1 Needler while also borrowing aspects from the Halo Reach Needler but still making it fit in the visual style of Halo 3, if that makes sense. So I made my own custom texture for the monkey head here, and I want to show you something. So, let me go here? Wrong folder. Objects. Weapons. Pistol. Needler. Okay, so I have the Needler, the Halo 3 stock Needler, okay? Let's take a look at the bitmaps. Now, I've separated the alpha channel from the red, green, and blue channels on the Needler texture because I wanted to take a look at how exactly the color looked on the Needler. And because the alpha channel is the specular map. So, let's take a look at the Halo. This is the Halo 3 Needler, by the way. Just want to make that very clear. Look at all of this. Look at all of this texture, this green and blue and deep purple that you just don't see because the specularity and everything of the Needler and Halo 3 is just pink. Just pink. We're not worrying about the detail, just make it pink. Okay. What this is that this is actually the texture in Halo 1. Okay, this is the Halo 1 Needler. If I pull it up, let me get a video here of the Halo Combat Evolved weapons. Halo CE all weapons. Needler, Needler, Needler. Here we go. Would you look at that? The Needler isn't pink. Isn't that interesting? It's this texture. I mean, it's that texture. It's that coloring. Okay. So I really want to bring this design back into Halo 3 with the color scheming, the texturing, because I just think it looks cooler. So that's what I... Sorry, the music got really loud. Now, I also like that the needles are they're blue. I think that's really cool. Until they're fired, then they are pink. So that's another thing I kind of want to do, is that I want to make the needles look blue like this. And what I've been doing for that, to get that to work, is let me show you my blend file that I made just to test the texture out and the shader. So here's the texture I made. This is using 3 or 4 different public domain textures. So my idea with all of my mods is that I want to release them entirely open source, and in a way to where people can reuse them and make changes to them without fearing any sort of copyright or, you know, whatever. So I'm going out of my way to look for specifically public domain CC0 textures, and I found a couple. I found, like, if you go to Open Game Art, there's a pack of like 1,000 or 100 or whatever seamless textures, and I downloaded those because I figured they would work very well with recreating this. And this is what I came up with. So what I'm doing here is I'm just I'm recoloring these textures and mixing them together in a certain way. I probably shouldn't spend a whole lot of time explaining exactly how this works, but really all it is just these 4 textures and a gradient. 2 gradients, really. Because there's a gradient going this way on the y-axis and a gradient going this way on the z-axis. But that's how I made this texture right here, and then I created a specular map for it as well, packed the specular map, and I started messing with shaders here to get almost the exact look I'm going for the needler shell. The parts of the needler that aren't clearly the metal, the parts of the needler that are the shell. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, and another reason why I want to do this is because I want to at least add the needle rifle, and I think recreating the needle rifle to have better synergy with the needler. That's another goal of mine, to where I don't want my version of the needle rifle is not going to have where you put the canister in the rifle like you do in Halo Reach or like the Covenant Carbine. It's going to have that very weird, abstract sort of reload animation like the Needler does, where your character basically just flicks their wrist and then the Needler is reloaded. It's probably not going to be that simple of a flick of a wrist, but it's going to be not too different from that. I think it would also be really cool to add, because a few streams ago I played the Silent Cartographer Evolved, and they have, I guess, a brute version of the Needler, which is called the Shredder. I think that would be fun to make as well, and also have the design very kind of clearly related. So that's really my main motivation to just kind of remaking the Needler. Make it less of the pink space gun and more of the weird alien gun that we got in the first Halo game, but was not really carried over past that game. So that's the idea. Now, to get started, we don't need Sapien anymore because this stream is going to be almost entirely in Blender. What I am going to do, though, is I am going to get my Halo 3 Needler. That's my Halo Reach Needler file. Here it is. Here's the Halo 3 Needler. There's also another bug. This is one other reason why I kind of want to give the Needler a makeover, is because there's actually a bug that exists in Halo 3. And I think it also persists in ODST, and it's a bug that I don't think exists in any other Halo game, and it's that it's an issue with one of the animations. It's not an issue with the model, it's an issue with the animations, where the needles on the Halo 3 Needler are tucked way too far into the Needler. If you've ever noticed that the needles on the Halo 3 Needler don't look as long as in Halo 1, 2, and pretty much the rest of the Halo games, that's why. It's actually an animation error. Now, of course, I wouldn't have to fully remake the Needler to change that, just fix the animation, but I'm gonna do what I want to do. So, here we go. So this is the Halo 3 Needler, and I am also going to import the Halo Reach Needler because there are some design aspects of it that I want to take. We don't need paint.net anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead. We don't need that video anymore either. Okay, so what we're gonna do is whenever I go into my file system on my computer, I have personal identifiable things on there, so I don't want just random people on the internet seeing it. And maybe I should invest in a different computer or whatever that I stream on instead of my personal computer. But what am I looking for? I am looking for the Halo Reach. Halo Reach Needler. Let's import that entire collection real quick. Good God. Hold on just a second. Okay, so the Halo Reach Needler is imported. It's very small though, because you can't extract the JMS files from the Halo Reach mod tools, unfortunately. So really the only way, at least the only way I know how to get the Halo Reach models is to extract the RMF files with Reclaimer. And that actually scales the models down to what their real size would be, and not the game engine size. So we have to scale this up a little bit to roughly match the size. Probably like it's not like too important that the size is exactly the same, but as long as it's close enough. Okay. So the reason I am importing the Halo Reach Needler, let me rename this Halo Reach Needler, and let's go ahead and let's save this. Let's save this out. So I've talked about this last stream. I've had these glasses for 8 years and I desperately need to go to an eye doctor and hopefully get a new prescription. I have an appointment scheduled for Monday, so if you see me like holding my eyes and stuff and everything, it's because I just need new lenses. I don't want to get glasses. I just want to get, I mean, I will get glasses, but I want to get contact lenses because I'm also tired of having glasses. Mainly because I can't keep my glasses from getting dirty, and it really bothers me. Okay, the materials did come over. Okay, so in fact, I better actually rebuild these. I'm gonna do that off stream, get these materials going and working on the Halo 3 Needler, stock Needler. I'm gonna create one more collection. This is gonna be our Needler. So, anyway, one thing I want to take a look at. So, I am not going to take every single detail here that's in the Halo Reach Needler because, again, Halo Reach has a very different art style from Halo 3. I want to stay true to like Halo 3 fidelity and general art style, even though I am taking the Halo 1 color scheme of the Needler. So I am not doing every single detail here, but I like the silhouette of this Needler. I'm probably not going to keep this here. I do like some of the ideas here in the Halo Reach Needler, so we're mainly taking the silhouette. But maybe a few details. Now let's take a look at the Halo 3 Needler. In fact, I really wish that I actually did get these shaders going. So that's going to make this a lot easier, but all we really need to worry about right now is just blocking this out. Getting the basic shapes in, because that's probably all we're going to have time to do anyway, so we're not going to get into texturing at all. Anyway, let's go ahead and I like starting with a plain mesh, because what we're going to do is that we're going to block this out first. I'm going to block out the shell parts of the Needler. In fact, one thing I should do is we are going to move it out a little bit, because I just want to model based on the Halo Reach one, block it out on this silhouette, but I want to see how the topology looks. In fact, what I can do to make that even easier is turn on wireframe, and there we go. Now we can actually see the topology. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but we're just gonna roll with it. In fact, I want to change the name of the stream a little bit here. Okay. So, mirror, and I'm going to add a subdivision surface because we're just going to block out the shell. So now we can go back into edit mode and let's have this all meet together. And so one thing I found that makes modeling Covenant weapons a lot easier is just use the subdivision surface modifier, at least to block out, and then when you're going for your actual like pass for the topology, that's when you you kind of model over your block out. Might want to add just one more edge in here. Just to make the curve a little bit better. Okay. At this point, I'm not 100% worried about accuracy. Or details, because we're just getting the basic shape. Just getting the basic shape going. This whole thing right here, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna keep like this whole thing that the Halo 3 Needler has going on. I think for Halo 3 that's adding a little too much detail. Most details that are on this Halo Reach model are not going to make the cut. Because I do not think they belong. There we go. Okay. Look at that. Doesn't that just look so alien and crazy? I feel like I could maybe do something with this. I do have a design that I made for what the needle rifle would look like with this like kind of Halo 3, Halo 1 design. I made like a basic schematic of it. I'll have to find it, dig it up, because I did make it a long time ago, but I'm probably gonna base the needle rifle on that design that I made to a degree. There are some changes I know that I would need to make to it. Let's do that. And flip the normals. They're not crazy. And I might shade this all smooth. What track of the soundtrack are we on? Oh yeah, Tayari Plaza. I like this track. The I can't remember the name, but it's very clearly Halo 2 inspired. Has kind of the same motifs in it that you hear a lot in Halo 2, and I really like that. This is probably going to be good enough for that, and we'll want to continue with this. I do want to create this separation in the middle. I think it looks pretty cool. I forgot that I actually separated this guy over here for that exact reason. There we go. Uh-oh, is Dare not in her drop pod? That's crazy to me, dog. Rest in peace, Steve Bridges. That's where the dog came from, if you were wondering. The funny internet man. Okay. 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 Now, one thing we can do, which might actually help in the long run, It's the sad ODST music. Super moody. I always thought it was funny how people are like, man, we really need to get an ODST too. I'm like, why? But now I totally understand it. And that's not me throwing shade at ODST. I love ODST. I was like, I don't really see the point in having a sequel to ODST, but I think what people mean is more of a spiritual successor. Because ODST probably has the best vibe. I don't know if it has the best vibe, but man, does it have a vibe. It is a very cool, very well thought out Halo game. Just leaking with style. I feel like that's almost I think I talked about this in my Halo Campaign Evolve stream, where I said Halo 3 ODST basically does the exact same thing that Halo Infinite does, but I feel like it's a lot more it's less schizophrenic, as like Todd Howard would say. Where like they talked about how their philosophy with Halo Infinite was, we want to make a game based on the second mission of Halo Combat Evolve, where you go around just about the same landscape, but you're looking for Marines. A lot of the time you're rescuing Marines. And I'm like, gee, it kind of sounds like there was a Halo game that already did that. But instead of being in the Pacific Northwest alien world, you're in a African metropolis. Oh yeah, ODST. That's not a criticism towards Halo Infinite. It's more of a, this isn't really that novel of an idea, considering that we've already kind of had this. But they were advertising it as like it has not been done before. Now I will say that Halo Infinite is I mean, I haven't played Halo Infinite since launch, and I've only played it once. I did feel like Halo Infinite, there was a lot more to explore, and it was a lot more open-ended. Maybe not open-ended in the sense that you made decisions, because that's not what either game does, but open-ended as in I feel like there's more things to find, like the skulls and different points of interest, mainly Banish outposts and stuff, that really Mombasa Streets and ODST just serves as like a vessel from you to get to from one campaign mission to the other without much else in between, other than maybe a few vignettes and those terminals about, I think Sadie was her name, I can't remember. So let's take a look at our shell. Cool. I like where this is going. One more thing is that we're going to do kind of what we did right here. So we are going to, might be better if we made this a face and we insetted the face. Like so. And we are going to make that a big crease. A lot of people, especially people who have not really used Blender for a while, have no idea that there is this crease feature, which makes modeling with the subsurface modifier just that much better. It's really I don't see a whole lot of people taking advantage of it, and I think it's because a lot of people don't even know it exists. We'll make it 0.2. I actually don't know how big we want to make that. How big is this? Whoa. Okay, so about how big we made it. Maybe that's a little bit bigger, but I think what we have here will work. And, you know, just to have a little bit more fun with this, we could even make this a little interesting to look at. So we can really see those normals going to work, except this is just a block out, so it doesn't really matter. But this will help us see a little bit more of that shape we're going for. And one other thing I might do is make this stand out a little bit more. Like so. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Actually, there's one thing I do want to do a little bit different. I'm thinking really quick. Okay. We're gonna do the same inset as before. Might go with a 2-5. Okay, we can only do one of them at a time, apparently. Okay. So pretty much got the shell done. We could start working on where I want the holes to be that the needles poke out of. In fact, one thing I do something like that. I don't think the holes are gonna be necessary. It's gonna be more the needles themselves that we're gonna need to block out. We can work on, that could be the last thing we do. Next is probably gonna be working on the barrel here. Getting it all lined up and how we want things. So yeah. Yeah, man. This will be shell block out, or how about block out shell. Block out shell. Okay. So we want to do something kind of like this. What's going on here? Let's make a new object. will probably be a plane too. So it'll be block out barrel. Is that how you spell barrel? I don't know. That is one word I never know how to spell. We're gonna do almost the same thing we were doing with the shell block out, but instead of adding a subdivision surface modifier, we are going to be adding a solidify modifier. Uplift reserve. I want to go with a smaller thickness, maybe. It might be a little too thin, but whatever. You want to see another trick to Blender? Use the 3D cursor, and then you can use the 3D cursor as its own plane, like this. The 3D cursor in Blender is your best friend. Huh. I might actually add a subdivision surface to this so I can get some curves going on. Although I guess if I add it before the solidify, what's going on? Because I don't have clipping turned on. And again, just use creases where it makes sense. Oh, but it's the solidify, so we can't crease this. Oh yeah, we can. Never mind. I was just being silly. As usual. This is the Halo 3 ODST soundtrack. This is from a Halo game. Now, if you're wanting to listen to exactly what I listen to, look up the channel Ben Marshall 801. Ben Marshall 801 has not every single Halo game. All of the classic ones. Complete soundtrack, which is how the soundtracks actually sound when they're in the game. An issue with like the OST releases, the original soundtrack releases, is that they have a lot of changes. They don't synergize well with how you actually hear them in the game, in my opinion, which is why I like to listen to how they were originally intended to be listened to. You never got into ODST as in you never played it or you didn't like it. Because I think ODST is one of those games that has aged very well. When it came out, I mean, I'm gonna be totally honest. ODST when it came out was underwhelming. Did I dislike it? No. I didn't dislike it. I loved it. I loved it when it came out. I played a bunch of it. But... And this wasn't an issue with Bungie. This wasn't Bungie's decision. It was more Microsoft's decision of it needs to be a $60 release to pretty much compete with what Call of Duty was doing. And so ODST was basically meant to be a ODST was really meant to be I mean, I remember reading like Game Informer magazines when it was originally called Halo Recon. Pretty much meant to be, it was hyped up to be a Halo 3 add-on, like, or Halo 3 DLC, story, campaign, single player DLC, and then it became its own full game, and with that was the $60 price tag, and you know how the rest of it goes. There are no elites in ODST, which I think is to the detriment. I don't dislike brutes. I think brutes are fun to fight against in the Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST like style, but they are kind of way too easy in some ways and are kind of pushovers. And in some ways they don't really live up to their name of being brutes. Now, it doesn't even make sense lore-wise that there are not elites in ODST. So elites, the reason why there are no elites in ODST is because they just didn't have the time. It's as simple as that. You know, the elites in Halo 3 were never designed to be an enemy you fight against. You were only ever meant to be allied with the elites. So whenever I play a Halo 3 mod that adds the elites in as enemies and I fight against them, I'm like, I mean, they're not really that interesting. And Bungie knew that, which is why they didn't put them in. Because they didn't have the time to make a lot of changes to the Halo 3 Elite to make it an interesting enemy. But had they had the time to do that, they absolutely should have made the elites. They should have definitely had elite enemies in ODST. How do I want to do this? This needs to be creased. Maybe not that far. Maybe 0.5. I don't like brutes in Halo 2. I think brutes in Halo 2 are absolutely ridiculous. And it's also because they ran out of time to make the brutes interesting and not BS. I do like the direction they were taking the brutes in Halo 3. I still think they could have done a lot more with them. Because in Halo 3, they almost play exactly like elites, but easier. Versus, I think it would have been cool, and maybe they didn't do this because they did want to make elites allied, and the fact that you play as the Arbiter and like other elites if you play co-op, like, it makes sense why they didn't feel comfortable adding in elites as enemies in Halo 3. Probably because a lot of people would have been confused as to, okay, who do I fight against? But, at the same time, I think it would have been better if you did fight some elites in Halo 3 that just stuck with the Covenant because they were so, indoctrinated. And have them have a completely separate personality from the brutes and how they would fight, versus I think the brutes would be a lot better, a lot more interesting if they acted more like a sorry, I had to pause there because I didn't like how that loop cut went. It's not how I want the loop cut to be. Oh man. Hold on. I gotta think about this. I would say brutes are fun for me in Halo 3 and ODST because they play like elites and not because they're brutes. Which is a shame. They really should absolutely be their entire different class of enemy, and not just a replacement for the elites, because it wouldn't make sense lore-wise, but whatever. ODST, in my opinion, is still one of my favorite Halo games. I do really like ODST quite a bit. Oh god. Hold on. What do I do? Yeah. I was talking a little bit earlier in the stream about how ODST was kind of did what Halo Infinite was doing, where you have like a hub world that connects all the campaign missions together. I would not call it an open world because it's just no. Infinite's open world, like Infinite, I would say, yeah, I guess it could pass as an open world. ODST, it's not an open world, it's a hub world. You know, there's not really... I think the weakest point of ODST is actually the part of ODST that was kind of a selling point, and that is you have this entire city to explore. But when it comes down to it, and I did say this earlier in the stream, and I say this as somebody who's a fan of the game, who likes the game, and I would be probably less critical of ODST if I didn't care about it. But when it comes to the city exploration in ODST, there's not a whole lot to explore. It baffles me that you don't even go around finding skulls. Like, I just don't even understand how that was something that totally crossed their minds. That was always a strange decision to me, that they just took out the idea of finding skulls in ODST when it's a game literally marketed around exploration of a city. There are little, I did say earlier in the stream, there are these little vignettes that you can see, like brutes strapping bombs onto an engineer, or there's one part where, or not one part, many parts where you find basically terminals. That's what they are. And they're interesting to listen to, but that's like the only thing to find. I don't know if I could even give you a single one example of like an actual Easter egg that you can find out in Mombasa streets. I'm not talking about the campaign missions. There are Easter eggs in the campaign missions themselves, but the parts of the Mombasa streets, like, I don't know if I could name a single Easter egg. I'm sure there are some, but they were apparently so inconsequential or whatever that I don't remember them, despite playing the game numerous times. All that being said, I do recommend giving it a try again, because the ID badge... Oh. I don't remember that. Hello everybody. Welcome, Golden Foot. The Golden Foot. Yeah. The Foot of Gold is one of my old friends. Oh, yeah. Okay. I do vaguely remember that. I probably never would have thought of it again if somebody didn't mention it, though. And maybe it's because I've played an insane amount of Halo 3 that I remember pretty much all of the Easter eggs in Halo 3. MCC is... MCC is the best thing that has happened to the Halo series in probably 15 years. It's funny because most of its content that is not new, but it has breathed so much new life into all this old content that it is genuinely awesome. I just wish they didn't end support for it so soon. And part of me wonders, because now they've announced they have announced the final season or content drop or whatever you call it for Halo Infinite. So it makes me wonder, like they say that now, I would imagine it's because they want to divert resources to new Halo games, but I'm like, I hope part of that is like more support for MCC. Who knows? Does MCC only run at 60 FPS? I have no idea. I mean, I've been playing it pretty comfortably, but I'm not somebody who 60 frames per second works for me. So I don't really, the game seems to run smooth. I don't know if it's at 60 or what. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and this is something that I can't believe they haven't fixed. Yeah, Zane, I 100% agree. I didn't play 5. I played Infinite only once when it released, and I gotta say, maybe it's because there's so much open world fatigue, but it just, Infinite is, it just, the way they did the open world in Infinite did not really serve the game very well. I will say that, because it took away from the individual campaign missions, and the whole of the open world kind of looked the same across the whole thing. Now, going back to the frames per second thing, the only thing I can comment on regarding that is, I don't know about collisions, but the tick speed of the game engine, which is actually separate from frame rate, or the tick speed of the AI, like the AI, this is most prevalent in Halo Reach. This is mostly an issue with Halo Reach, but I think it might be an issue across all the games, is that when you play MCC, you will find that the enemies are actually far more aggressive than if you were to play it on the original Xbox 360 versions. At least with Halo Reach, because I think the AI behavior, the AI decision making is actually tied to the frame rate for some reason. And I don't think that Halo Reach was meant to be played over 30 frames per second. So when you play the Long Night of Solace and you're in the, like, I can't beat the Long Night of Solace on Legendary, on MCC. I'm not even talking about Lasso, I'm just talking about Legendary. I can't beat Long Night of Solace on Legendary because, for whatever reason, the AI just seems to be more aggressive. I mean, I agree with you. I agree. Shooters, if a first-person shooter game is running lower than 60, then it's just about, like, I agree with that, but that's just how the game was made back on the Xbox 360 when we weren't spoiled. Yeah. No, I don't have frame rate issues with MCC. But I think because of the upgraded frame rate, it has changed the behavior of some things in the game. I haven't noticed any differences in, like, collision detection, but I have noticed differences in AI behavior. because the frame rate is higher. Yeah. Well, it depends on what game you're talking about for the Game Boy. Like, yeah, but also Halo Reach was... I mean, I think it's a freaking miracle that they got Halo 4 to run on the Xbox 360. I mean, it came on 2 discs, which should kind of tell you that it was about time. But Halo Reach, even Halo Reach was really pushing the limits of the Xbox 360. If you go to, if you load up Forge World on the Xbox 360 and you play co-op, so much of the, or when I say co-op, I mean split screen. When you go to Forge World on the Xbox 360 on split screen, so many things are gone because the Xbox 360 just can't render it. Yeah, I mean, as far as the mouse and keyboard stuff goes, I would be lying if I said that I preferred controller over mouse and keyboard. So of course, when I played first-person shooter games for the first time, it was on console. But then I got a PC and I played Half-Life, and Half-Life absolutely destroyed controller for me as far as first-person shooters go. I can't stand playing first-person shooters on a controller anymore. I feel like I have far less control. Now, that being said, yes, the Halo games were absolutely 100% designed to be played on a controller. Bungie did not anticipate these games to ever be played with a mouse and keyboard. I'm glad they are, because now I feel like I can play them. It's a skill issue, though. It's my own skill issue that I have trouble playing first-person shooters with a controller. The only thing I really have a problem with, though, in terms of mouse and keyboard controls for Halo is, I don't know if you're talking about Halo 1 in particular, but with Halo 1, the Scorpion, the tank controls for Halo 1 on mouse and keyboard are absolutely atrocious. They're not absolutely atrocious, but they're pretty bad. I can think of controls in other games that are worse for tank control, or I could think of ways how the tank controls could be worse, but the tank controls in Halo 1 on mouse and keyboard are not ideal. Now, when it comes to all of the other Halo games, the tank controls, in my opinion, are fine. It's just Halo 1. Anyway. Oh, what am I doing? So we're doing the barrel, right? Oh yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. You know, actually one game, and it's not a first-person shooter game at all. One series of games that I can't stand playing on mouse and keyboard are the Lego games. I have to bust out a controller for those because, and I think part of it is because the default keyboard bindings are just ass for the Lego games, but they're also just, it just makes so much more sense to play with a controller for the Lego games. I'm figuring out exactly what I want to do here. How do I want to do this? I'm having a hard time deciding what I want to do with this barrel for the needler. How I want it to connect with the shell. I think, now that I'm looking at it a little bit more, I think I'm starting to get an idea in my head. One thing we might do, I might work on this off stream. I mean, I will work on this off stream, but I think I'm only gonna stream for a little bit longer, maybe 45 minutes or so. So what we might do is we might actually play some Halo mods, just for fun. So let me rename the stream here. There we go. The stream name's getting really long. It will be easier to work on this. I mean, it is generally easier to work on things off stream, but in fact, because I see there's now like 4 people in here. I don't think anybody except maybe one person was in the stream when I was showing this off. Let me show you this. I started working on... I want my needler to look... my Halo 3 needler to look a lot like the Halo 1 needler in terms of how it's colored. So the needler in... the needler in Halo 2 and beyond just kind of turned into a pink space gun and less of like this weird abstract alien gun. Now, if you take a look at, if we take a look here at the needler in Halo 1, Halo Combat Evolved, and you can see it's not very pink. It has this very dark greenish purplish color scheme that's very weird. And interestingly enough, the Halo 3 needler also has that texture, but you just don't see it for whatever reason. It like, I mean, I know they made it intentionally just pink. They blew up like they blew up the specular, right, blue and turquoise, kind of very weird. If I find my, needler, Halo 3 needler file here, that's rifle, I need the pistol folder, needler. Okay, this is straight up 100% the Halo 3 needler texture right here. It still has that Halo 1 still has the Halo 1 colors and patterns and everything, but they blew up the specular coefficient on the shader or something, and it basically overrides this entire texture, and I'm like, I kind of want that weird old alien texture back. So that's what I started doing here. I took some public domain textures and recolored them and mixed them together in weird ways, and I got something that I think will work. And in fact, I actually built the shader in, if I open my... Let's open up River World real quick. I did this at the beginning of the stream, but I'll do it again. And then we'll play some mods for a little bit. I started messing around with how I would want a... Halo 1 Needler shader in Halo 3. So I got this going. I imported my texture and the monkey head into Halo 3, got it working, and messed around with the shader for about 15 minutes or so and got something I really liked. This is kind of how I want the Needler shell to look. I move it around, you can see how the reflections are working. It's really just, it's one of the built-in cube maps in Halo 3 that you can pretty much apply to anything. It's not reflecting the real environment. You can do that, but for this, I'm like, there's really no need to do that. That's just extra processing, I guess. For something that you're really not going to tell much of a difference to, and you kind of have less artistic control if you're just reflecting the environment around and not doing something a little bit crazier. So that's kind of how I want my Needler shell to look like. Bring it back to, I guess it could be a little darker to add to match more of the Halo 1 Needler. In fact, why don't we just try that real quick? Why don't we just mess around with it? And open up Gorilla. And I'm gonna kind of can't stand this here. Let's open up the shader, and if I want to make the base texture itself darker, I can just lower the diffuse coefficient here to, let's try maybe like 6, not 68. All right, let's save it. It's a little darker. That might be a little bit better, actually. I don't want to make it just absolutely black. For obvious reasons. I do want the detail to be pretty clear and evident. The problem I have with Halo 3 shaders is that this is like, a lot of this stuff is just guesswork. That's why I spent 15 minutes, like at least 15 minutes working on this shader the other day. I think it was yesterday. Because most of these values are just guesswork and me just messing with them and seeing what looks good and what is close to how I want it to look. And then of course also looking at some of these other shaders that are in the base game and trying to see like how their values work. Because almost nothing of like the Halo 3 engine is properly documented. Straight up. And that's kind of really frustrating because it makes making mods for Halo that much slower. So that's my shader. That's my Needler shell shader that I've been working on. And the basis for the actual Needler that I'm going to be making, and the needle rifle, and then maybe the shredder, if I feel like doing the shredder, which I think I will. So, there we go. How about we play some mods? Why not? Why not play some mods? Steam. I'm not interested in anything you're selling. Yeah, we'll close off the little last bit of this stream, maybe 30 minutes or so, 30, 40 minutes. Messing around with some mods, because why not? And the Master Chief Collection has opened up on my second monitor. That's really cool. I don't know why it does that when I continue to go to settings and say, hey, use this monitor, and then sometimes it'll work, and then sometimes it just doesn't. There we go. Yippee. Okay, we can turn off the ODST music. Bye. Okay. What do we want to play? Let's play, I do have the stream game set to Halo 3. Maybe we should play a Halo 3 mod. I've got a ton of them. House cleaning is really cool. I don't really feel like playing Halo 3 though. Now, this mod is really cool. This is a newer mod. Halo Combat Disheveled, which I've had a lot of fun with. I'm trying to remember which missions I've played so far. Usually my go-tos are Halo and the Silent Cartographer when it comes to like checking out to see what a mod does, because Halo and the Silent Cartographer are the two mods or the two missions that you need to get right and it be fun and exciting and everything. And if a mod does not do these two missions service, then I kind of uninstall the mod. That being said, I don't really remember. Let's go with Halo. Clearly, I had enough fun with this mod to not uninstall it. Every single time I try a mod, if it doesn't hook me like in the first 5 minutes or so, I immediately go back to the Steam Workshop and click unsubscribe. I thought we died for a second. I was actually really worried. I don't think you guys can hear the game at all, so I'm going to bump up the volume. The problem is that it's really loud for me. One thing you'll hear a lot of the time is that the reason why Marines don't spawn with you at the beginning of this mission is because they couldn't get the Marine pathfinding to work across the bridge. Now, I don't know what the original source of that claim is. Maybe a developer did say that one time, but I kind of find that hard to believe. Because I have seen grunts pathfind across that that bridge, and I'm pretty sure all of the AI share the exact same nav mesh and pathfinding and everything. I could be wrong about that. If I am, then you can make fun of me, but I just think the reason why Marines don't actually spawn with you is because it was a narrative gameplay decision to make it so that you are alone. So you have to go out and find Marines.
Alert, Covenant dropship inbound. They must be looking for survivors.
Like the idea of this now the time between you starting the mission and you finding a group of Marines, see, they're pathfinding now, that could very well just be I mean, it's a mod, so they could have edited it, but look at that. I think they can pathfind across it fine. I think they've always been able to. That's just my opinion. I've not tested that theory, not tested that hypothesis, so if somebody has actually tested it and proved me wrong, then I will admit that I'm wrong. Now, I think it was more of an actual conscious decision of, we want to make it so you think that you are alone for a while, that you are stranded. I think that was the original intention. Now, like I said, the time between the start of the mission and you finding actual Marines, like you finding Sergeant Johnson, is really not a long period of time. And there's not a whole lot of build-up. But again, this was a game from 2001, when things were a lot simpler. So, who knows?
Don't bother getting up.
I'm reading a lifeboat beacon over the next hill. We should check to see if there are any survivors.
So did you hear that multiplayer beep? That plays to let you know that there was a checkpoint saved, and a lot of I was reading a lot of comments under this mod saying they don't like that feature. I don't mind it. I think it's a cool idea. I wouldn't add it to my own mods, but I do appreciate kind of the thought behind it. Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. I really hope they do get it right, because and when I saw the Silent Cartographer, I talked about this in my campaign Evolve stream. The Silent Cartographer looks a little too much the same. Like they didn't evolve enough on the Silent Cartographer formula for me to be like, oh, this looks like crazy and I really want to play this. It was, this looks like the same mission. It looks, I mean, it just, like, that was something that really worried me. So one thing I'm like, I hope that it's just when Campaign Evolved comes out and I play Halo and it's almost the exact same mission, like beat for beat and like encounter to encounter, I'm gonna be like, bro. I mean, I already have this game. You can easily buy this game on modern systems. Sure, it might look a little old, but I still think visually it looks interesting, despite the graphics maybe being from 2001. Yeah, I mean, I see what they were going for with the Forerunner architecture, but it was, the Forerunner architecture was, to me, it felt like that they were overcorrecting with the Forerunner architecture with what I saw on the Silent Cartographer. Like, people have been very outspoken how, the Forerunner architecture and the Reclaimer games, minus Halo Infinite, is like ass. And Halo Studios / 343 was like, okay, what can we do to make the Forerunner architecture more Bungie-like? The problem with that is, even though the Forerunner architecture is clearly the same people who built the structures in Halo 1 were the same that built the structures in Halo 2 and 3. Too shiny and futuristic. I 100% agree with that. It looks... I think you nailed it. I think you nailed that description. It looks too futuristic. Which almost sounds insane for Halo. But when you take a look at Reclaimer Saga and the campaign evolved Forerunner architecture, it looks too much like style over like practicality over function. Now Halo 3 is kind of weird because the Forerunner architecture is Halo 3 Forerunner architecture is my favorite, but it's also very abstract in ways of like things still obviously exist for functionality, but there is a lot more style to Halo 3 Forerunner architecture, and I feel like that sentiment is kind of a common one among like classic Halo fans, that Halo 3 Forerunner architecture is the most interesting without being like too insane. And when you play Halo Infinite, that Halo 3 type of architecture is kind of present. And when I see the Forerunner architecture on the Silent Cartographer in Campaign Evolved, it looks like they were trying to mimic the Halo 3 style without actually understanding why the Halo 3 style works. When you listen, I can't remember the name of the guy, but the guy who actually, I don't know if he was the sole designer of the Forerunner architecture in Halo 3, but when he talks about designing that stuff for Halo 3, I'm gonna let him talk because I don't want to talk over them. Let's see if we can find anything.
If you're not too busy, Foehammer, we could use a lift. We have survivors to transport to the command shuttle. I'm on my way.
Look, more lifeboats. Coming in fast.
Where?
If those lifeboats make it down, that means I'm going to be right on top of them.
Foehammer, we need you to disengage your Warthog. The Master Chief and I are going to see if we can save some soldiers.
Roger, Cortana. Okay, Charlie Team, Warthog deployed. Saddle up and give them hell.
Roger, Foehammer. Stand by to evac survivors and transport them to safety.
That's affirmative. Echo 419, staying on station. Foehammer out.
The Master Chief and I need some backup. Can you spare a few men?
Sure, Cortana. All right, who's in? Volunteers, step up.
We got the Campaign Evolved bumper seat.
Sure thing.
I guess Sergeant Johnson died in that encounter, because usually he's the one who says, "Sure thing, Cortana." Anyway, so I was listening to, I think, Martin O'Donnell's podcast one time. Martin O'Donnell being the guy who was the sound director and the guy who composed most of the music. He was interviewing on his podcast one of his co-developers on Halo 3. One of the guys who worked on the Forerunner architecture. And he was talking about his very specific design philosophy as to why he made the decisions he made when building the Forerunner stuff for Halo 3. And it makes a lot of sense when you listen to them talk about it, and it made me appreciate the design. I'm already a huge fan of the Forerunner design in Halo 3, but it made me appreciate the design even more when I heard him talk about his philosophy behind it. And when I see the stuff in Campaign Evolved, when I see the architecture there, it immediately gives me vibes that they were mimicking the Halo 3 style without understanding the philosophy behind it. Yeah, I agree. It does look... The 343 stuff, they do look like buildings that have not been sitting vacant for hundreds of thousands of years. I mean, look at all the grime that's on these walls. You see all that, like... You see all the lichen and, like, drips, like, spots on this metal here? That is something that is sorely missing from 343 Halo Studios Forerunner stuff. Good God. I just realized the vehicle has a health bar. Interesting. So... Yeah, I feel like it's kind of funny because when you take away how, oh my God. Dude, you're gonna throw, I gotta kill these grunts that have fuel rod guns before they kill every one of us. You're gonna get left behind, dude, if you don't get in. Okay. So... what's interesting is that when you take away the clear, artistic, idea of adding a bunch of wear and tear to the Forerunner architecture, it somehow makes the structures less mysterious, which is why the Forerunner stuff, it's why the Forerunner stuff has always been interesting, is the mystery behind them. Dude, that is so cool. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. They got out and they're covering the Warthog on their sides, on their, like, that is so cool. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, at this point, I am so done with Bethesda. Like, I've talked about this in previous streams. At this point, I don't have any faith that The Elder Scrolls 6 is going to even be a good game. It's so sad. When Skyrim came out, I was like, this is the peak. Like, the next Elder Scrolls game, and I was expecting the next Elder Scrolls game to be out in the next 5 years, or 6 years, or however long. I was like, man, I can't wait until we get the next Elder Scrolls game, because if it's going to be like this, but better, which it should be, because it's going to have, like, new, you know, it's going to be able to have new gameplay systems, like, do everything that Skyrim does, but just do it better. Just like I went from I would buy the Elder Scrolls 6 at the drop of a hat or whatever, however the saying goes, and now I'm like, I'm not even looking forward to it anymore. Todd Coward. Yeah. Todd Coward. I'm gonna try another mission out. This mission isn't showing me much things that are much different. How about let's do a silent cartographer, since we're talking about silent cartographer. It is insane. I have no idea how it's legal, how you can make a product. You can sell a product and then almost a decade later, 9 years later, make it borderline unplayable because you want to make more money off of it, not fix the issues for a whole year and a half, and then eventually when you attempt to make a fix for it, you break it further. And the only reason that you're attempting to fix it is because you again want to make more money off of selling stuff that isn't even well balanced. Here's the funny thing, ESO is not even made by Bethesda Game Studios, so maybe that explains why it's... I've never played it because I don't like MMOs, but you know, maybe that's why ESO is tolerable. Good God. No wonder they gave me a rocket launcher. What was I saying? That's never a good idea, shooting a rocket launcher at a... I've come to the conclusion that Bethesda actually does not care about their fans anymore, because if they did, they wouldn't be breaking the game just to only for the reason to sell creation club content or whatever the hell that is. The thing is that the creation club content isn't even like well balanced or anything. There's a guy who did an excellent breakdown of how broken the creation club content is and how much it utterly destroys like the game. Not in terms of functionality, but in terms of like you just get you get late game items in early game areas like near Sanctuary Hills. Like there's a couple of rifles that you can get within like 5 minutes. If you don't even have to fast travel to these locations. Not that you would be able to anyway, because you have to discover the place to be able to fast travel to it, but good grief, those Banshees are super aggressive. But with the creation, yeah, 100%. I remember before all of the Creation Club content came out for Fallout 4, my favorite piece of armor from Fallout 3 is the Chinese stealth armor. So when somebody made the Chinese stealth armor mod for Fallout 4, I immediately downloaded it, grabbed it, started playing with it. And I was familiar. The planet texture is broken. It is an elliptical planet. I played with the Chinese Stealth Armor mod. This was before the Creation Club stuff came out. And then they showed off all the new Creation Club stuff. Oh god, are we going to be able to drive without splattering Marines? Move out of the way. Move, 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 move. They showed off the Chinese stealth armor with the Creation Club, and of course I wasn't going to pay money for that. It's like, I'm not gonna pay Bethesda a DLC sized amount of money for something, for content that is not DLC sized. I will admit that there are a few creations in the last year that I have purchased for Skyrim because they were DLC sized, like the Bard's College. I did buy that one because I was like, well, that looks really cool, I'm gonna check it out. I kind of, like, I'm okay with giving modders money. That being said, I do think mods should be inherently free. I don't think it should be a requirement for you to pay for a mod to play it, but, which I guess I was doing, I was paying to play a mod, but in my case, I don't really mind that I had to pay for it. But that was a creation that was not made by Bethesda, that was made by a modder. Like, oh, see, I have not played, like, any of the Creation Club content. When they added the Chinese stealth armor through Creation Club, I saw, like, the features and everything, and it was like, the free mod does everything this Creation Club thing does, but it's, like, significantly better. I don't get the purpose of this. And most people have the same exact thought, where people are like, why are we paying for this Chinese stealth armor when we can get a version for free? So, not only are the creations absolutely broken in terms of game balancing, of getting like late game items right outside of Sanctuary Hills without having to fight anything for it, but two, a lot of the Creation Club content, you would expect them to actually be distributed throughout the world appropriately. Like, if you buy a Creation Club piece of Creation Club content, I would expect to at least see other NPCs, like bandits, raiders, whatever, wearing the armor, like have the armor exist in the worlds, but most of the time it's just like in a container. And there's only one set of it, and it's like, why? I did not play Oblivion Remaster because I already own Oblivion. I saw no reason to get the remaster. Like, the thing is that Oblivion Remaster is the same game that I've had for... I mean, I didn't own Oblivion originally, I got it later on PC, but I've owned Oblivion on PC for probably 12 years, 12, 13 years. And the thing is that I have 19 years of modding history that, like, there's 19 years worth of mods that I could download for Oblivion. But with the Oblivion Remaster, I can't do that. And it would be different if the Oblivion Remaster... These are ODSTs. It would be different if the Oblivion Remaster actually fixed a lot of the issues that existed in Oblivion. And sure, they did maybe fix some of the level scaling problems with the remaster, but I like to give the Battle of Bruma as the prime example of how the Oblivion Remaster was entirely useless. Because the Battle of Bruma in the original game, there's like 20 NPCs. It's not a battle. Well, okay, let's say there's maybe 40 NPCs tops. There's like 20 Cyrodiilians, soldiers that are on your side, including the Emperor himself. And then you maybe have like 20 Daedric monster invaders, whatever, at the Battle of Bruma. And the game, during the Battle of Bruma, the game runs at like, it runs like a slideshow. So in the original game, the Battle of Bruma runs like a slideshow. And I was like, and it's because the original Oblivion engine apparently cannot take, it can't take advantage of multi-threading. No anti-aliasing, yeah. So the original Oblivion engine could not take advantage of multi-threading from what I understand. It's like, well, okay, you don't necessarily need multi-threading. I mean, multi-threading is good, but there's other optimizations you can perform to make AI not hog up so much processing, like time slicing and stuff like that. But with the 30 to 40 NPCs that are present at the Battle of Bruma, the game runs terribly. And I was like, if the Oblivion remaster does not acknowledge this and try to fix this issue with the Battle of Bruma, then it's not, there's no reason to get this. And sure enough, I was watching Zarek, which is a guy on YouTube who live streams, and he mainly does RPG games. I was watching him play the Oblivion remaster, like the Battle of Bruma sections, and it was, now technically the frame rate was better, but it was weird because like the animations were at a lower frame rate, so it's like, I don't think that the frame rate was actually better. It was just interpolating between the long frame time. I think that's what it was actually doing. So they were giving the illusion that they did optimize the Battle of Bruma when they didn't. In the Oblivion remaster, which I'm like, whatever. Like that's just, I'm not gonna buy this. And again, I do not like remasters because it's like I have the original game. If it's gonna play like the same game, I would rather it also look like the same game. I don't really get the point of just slapping new graphics and sound onto an old game. Like, that doesn't sound good to me. It just sounds stupid. It doesn't sound like there's a point to it. Other than some people don't like looking at old graphics for some reason, which it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. Maybe I'm a boomer. But when I look at this game, yes, it's old. The graphics are dated, but I don't think it's a bad looking game. Like, I still enjoy looking at it, you know, and that's how I feel about that's how I feel about Oblivion. I still enjoy looking at the original Oblivion. I don't need the graphics to be new. I don't need the graphics to be replaced. That's how I feel with every single video game, just about. I would say the only video game remaster that I actually appreciated was Halo 2 Anniversary, because I do not think Halo 2 originally looked good. I always thought Halo 2 was an ugly game. Not because of the art style, but because the graphical fidelity was not good for Halo 2. They weren't able to do what they wanted to do with the fidelity of the graphics in Halo 2. The reason I would be excited over a Fallout 3 remaster is so that it's playable. In order to get, just about in order for me to get Fallout 3 to work, I have to play it through Tale of Two Wastelands. Like, it's crazy to me how Bethesda can sell Fallout 3 on Steam. They can continue to sell it and it just not work on, most of the time, just not work on modern computers. Like, I remember I did a playthrough of Fallout 3 right before Fallout 4 came out. And, die.
Use the hollow panel to shut
Not
down
yet,
the
Cortana. Is that a reflection, or is that just a model copied and flipped under the ground? Oh, look at that, it's a skull. What does this do? I did a playthrough of Fallout 3 on PC right before Fallout 4 came out. And, I had to shut off the game from using all but one core on my CPU. I had to play it at the lowest resolution in windowed mode, and I had to turn quick saving off. Or not quick saving. What's it called when the game saves automatically? Every once in a while. Autosave. I had to turn autosaves off. If I didn't do that, the game would crash. And it's not like I was playing on some low-end PC. I was playing on a gaming desktop computer. Yeah, the reason why Halo 2 looks bad is because they were trying... They designed the visuals around lighting that they didn't have time to implement. So, like... I mean, ideally, they would just make Fallout 3 playable. But if they want to be... you know, scummy and decide that they only want to make Fallout 3 playable if you buy a new version of it, then okay. But I don't even have faith that they would even fix Fallout 3. Like, if they're not going to fix Oblivion, if the only thing they're going to do with the Oblivion remaster is just slap Unreal Engine 5 on top of it and introduce Unreal Engine bugs and not fix pretty much any of the old bugs, then I'm like, I don't think that they would do anything to improve Fallout 3 other than slap Unreal Engine 5 on top of it, which is not necessarily conducive to like a good remaster. I mean, sure, Unreal Engine 5 is like arguably, I mean, personally I do not think so, but Unreal Engine is arguably the most like visually impressive game engine. But you can have the best graphical fidelity in the world, but you can still have your game look like crap. I would agree with that. 3 and New Vegas probably are going to be remastered before Fallout 5 comes out, because it seems like they're really only in the business to make re-releases and remasters anymore. I mean, they did make Starfield, but that's not really a video game. It's more of like a walking simulator, and it's like Starfield is like a mix between a walking simulator and a visual novel. So I kind of have a hard time calling Starfield a video game. And I'm saying that from playing the game for 29 hours that I wish I could get back. Can I? There we go. Let's pick up the SMG. It sounds like I hate Bethesda, and like I'm just complaining to complain, but it's like I loved Bethesda at one point, and it is not the same Bethesda that made Oblivion and Fallout 3. It's not even the same Bethesda that made Skyrim. Even though they've taken the idea of Skyrim and they've with Fallout 4 and Starfield, they saw what they did with Skyrim. They saw how successful Skyrim was, and they said, let's take our magnum opus, our most successful game that almost everybody loves, and let's take aspects from it. Not good aspects. Let's take the worst parts of Skyrim and make games out of that. I'm not surprised that Morrowind wasn't remastered first, because I would say a lot of people are not receptive to Morrowind combat. That's not me saying that Morrowind combat is bad. It was specifically designed that way because Morrowind is an actual role-playing game where stats matter over like player skill. But modern audiences are not very receptive to that kind of combat gameplay that's like a weird mix between, it is real time, but it's also based on dice rolls. And I think they understood that, and they clearly don't want to put any effort into changing aspects of games that would still work well. And like if they wanted to change the Morrowind combat, they would have to just about remake the entire game, and I don't think they want to put that much effort into it, because they barely put any effort into the Oblivion remaster. In short, I don't think that they did I don't think they did a Morrowind remaster, and I don't think they will, just because I think that they are under the impression that Morrowind would not sit well with the broader modern video game audience, and especially not with their fans, their current like their newer fans, because Bethesda's games over, like, you could even argue this is how Skyrim is. Bethesda's games for at least the past 10 years have been less RPGs and more just looter shooters, adventure looter shooters. Skyrim is obviously not a shooter, but it is a looter swordy game, a looter shield and sword game and magic game, versus Morrowind is very much an RPG. And I need to... I was just fighting a sword elite and I turned my brain off and now I'm at 3 bars of health. And I don't think there's a single health pack in this entire building. Actually, no, there is on the floor below me. Or there should be. So, modern Bethesda fans have the expectation of not necessarily an RPG where like character builds and choices matter. It's more just get objectives from people and travel across an open world and then you might get treasure. That is not what Morrowind is like. Morrowind is very much an RPG where character builds and choices do matter. It really sucks because I love Skyrim. I love the exploration of Skyrim. I love the moment-to-moment gameplay, but when I play Skyrim, I always have this... There's always this hole that Skyrim is not able to fill, in which the character that I'm playing as in this playthrough is entirely different from a character that I played previously. Like, sure, you can pick different races to play as. I guess you could kind of focus on separate skills, even though there's no way that you can be locked out of basically maxing out all skills. So Skyrim is a game where it doesn't really make sense to make only a thief or make only a mage. Like, your character can be good at everything. And when I mean good, I mean a master. And that really sucks. It makes Skyrim, it doesn't make Skyrim very replayable. I feel like the only reason you would replay Skyrim is to try mods out, or it's been so long since you played through a certain quest that you want to play through it again. I knew that was gonna happen. I don't think I can stick... Oh, I can stick them. I think they bounce off. I think plasma grenades bounce off of Hunter armor in the original game. Okay, I kind of wish I knew that. Okay. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with Bethesda wanting to make a action-oriented adventure game like they have with Skyrim and Fallout 4, because I clearly like those games, but with Starfield, they did it the worst way possible. They, with their marketing for Starfield, they genuinely had me convinced at one point that they were returning to a lot of the not hardcore, but some of the more detailed role-playing elements of, just kind of how the game looked. And boy, is Starfield the exact opposite of that. Hey, that was mean. Now, I am somebody who has not played a whole lot of Daggerfall, but I really appreciate it for what it is. Like, it's a game that I enjoy watching other people play. So I have a really big fascination for the game. And when they were showing off Starfield, and they were showing off like all the character creation things you can do, like you can select your background and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, this actually has a lot more depth than like a bunch of the previous Bethesda games like Fallout 4 and Skyrim. I'm like, wow, are they really are character builds actually going to matter in Starfield? They don't. The crazy thing is that they've expanded their studio by like 3 or 4 times the amount of people. And I don't think that has helped them. I think that's only made their games worse, because I think it's a problem of too many cooks in the kitchen. If they had, it would be what they need to do, because they have at least three studios now. They have their one in Bethesda, they have their one in like Texas or whatever, and then they have one somewhere else. One studio, the thing is that one studio works on Fallout 76 because God hates us or something like that. Sorry, I know there are people that like Fallout 76, but I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, 76 has had its time. Can we please move on? And, like, I kind of hate saying that, because I know there's a lot of people who enjoy Fallout 76 now. It's like, I don't think their game should be taken away before my selfish reasons, but they have one studio working on 76, and then I think the 2 other studios work on the same game. And I think that, let's assume that each studio is made up of 100 people, which is about how many people worked on Fallout 4. I think when your studio gets up to a certain size, the amount of people, you're no longer able to have a consistent, cohesive, collaborative vision on a game when you have probably more than 100 people working on it. That's at least the case for Bethesda. Where there is I think it was AVV Gaming, a YouTube channel, did an interview with one of the artists who worked on Skyrim. And he talked about how the making of Skyrim was such a collaborative effort. Where, you know, you would he worked on like the dragons, or this one of his co-workers worked on the Atronachs. And when they made the Atronach, they worked on like every single aspect of that Atronach. They worked on the model, the textures, the animations, and whatever. And that Atronach, like, they kind of owned that Atronach. That was their creation. And I'm just pausing it because I want to like get my thoughts out here for a second. And Skyrim was a very highly collaborative effort where everybody was coordinating with each other, you know. And that same artist who worked on Skyrim, he left after Fallout 4. He worked on Fallout 4, and then he left. He made like the death clause for Fallout 4. And then he visited the studio after they released Fallout 76 or something like that. I can't remember. It was before Starfield came out. but he visited the studio just to like see old friends and coworkers, and the studio was a lot bigger because the studio only had like around 100 people during Fallout 4. And he asked, he said to his former coworkers, man, there are so many people here I don't know. And something along those lines, and his former coworker said, yeah, we don't know him either. Which tells me that they were not coordinating, like the team at Bethesda Game Studios, they were not coordinating with each other, which is insane to me. Like, no wonder why Starfield is, like, as Todd Howard would say, a schizophrenic mess. Because if nobody at the studio is talking to each other, your game's gonna suck.
There.
And you're not gonna have a consistent vision for not just the art, but for gameplay, for story.
Center is located there.
Halo CE team was on 40 people. Yeah, I think under 100 people. Now, I'm saying this as somebody who has no experience in working in a game studio. I would say, like, the thing is that Halo Combat Evolved is a game that is made with such clear intent for every aspect of the game. Story, visuals, audio, gameplay. And former Bungie employees have famously said that people wore multiple hats. You know, Martin O'Donnell, he worked on the sound, but he also worked on, he made decisions that made it into the story of the game. Like, I'm pretty sure he was the one who insisted that Sergeant Johnson, spoilers, dies at the end of Halo 3. And the sound design in the Halo games is so well done because Martin O'Donnell would coordinate with the people who designed the levels and designed the gameplay to see what music was appropriate, you know, at any given time. That's why when you fight the Scarab in Halo 3 on the Storm, you have those drums that get like really intense. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Only 2 weeks experience prior to making Blood Gulch. That's crazy. I mean, I think for back then, that makes a lot of sense. For the game industry back then, a lot of things that was the first time things were done. So interesting. That's cool. But Skyrim is a game that has a clear, consistent vision. Fallout 4 has a clear, consistent vision. Fallout 3, I would say Fallout 3 probably has the most intent, like clear intent of any Bethesda Game Studios game that I have personally played. Maybe not as much as Morrowind, but like when you play Fallout 3, the vision, the consistency in that game is so strong. It is a game that is, I won't go into it. You probably know what I mean. Like it, but when you play Starfield, like nothing melts together or anything. It's just a mess. And the problem is that a lot of the changes they made retroactively to like Fallout 4 with the Creation Club adds that inconsistent mess into Fallout 4, a game that originally had a very consistent vision. Was the vision for Fallout 4 good? I won't say yes or no. I mean, that's up to people to decide. Saying that a game has a consistent vision is not necessarily saying the game is good, but I would say that it is a quality that makes a game good. That consistency always exists in good games. Let me put it that way. And I just don't see how Bethesda Game Studios these days, with their now massive size and the fact that we pretty much had former employees say that they don't coordinate the same way they used to, you just don't get that consistency. You don't get that same level of intent with the design of the game. I think it can be done. I don't know how big CD Projekt Red is as a studio, but I would say they're probably pretty big. Probably bigger, or at least the same size. Not bigger. Probably around the same size as Bethesda Game Studios, but at least Cyberpunk 2077 is a cohesive game. Maybe not when it came out, but it is now. The reason I say Fallout 3 is probably the most intentional Bethesda game is because every single thing you see in that game does not feel out of place. In fact, it feels just right. Like, take the Mirelurks, for example, and in Fallout 4, the Mirelurks were designed to basically just be a mutant crab. Like, it looked like what a mutant crab might realistically look like if it was a just crazy, weird mutant thing. Whatever. I mean, the point is that it still looks like a crustacean, right? But in Fallout 3, the Mirelurks were specifically designed to look like a 1950s sci-fi horror monster, as if a human actor is in a costume. And you might say, well, that kind of doesn't make sense. Actually, it does, because Fallout 3 is a game that is heavily inspired by 1950s sci-fi, like mid-century sci-fi, not necessarily 1950s, but mid-century, black and white movies. That's why the game is so monochromatic. Yeah, like, yes, Fallout 3 takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where the color has been, like, washed away from the world, but the reason why that is because it is heavily inspired by basically old, like, mid-century, radio atomic kaiju era. Like, think of The Thing from Another World, the movie where I think John Wayne was like the thing and the monster. Like, that's what they were trying to do with Fallout 3. Like, you go on the road, it is a McCarthy era retro-futuristic sci-fi of the cars you see on the road. The cars you see littered along the road, they don't look like a typical car. They look like a car that might have existed, that would look like society was trying to push for flying cars as you would see in the Jetsons. Now, with Starfield, they talk about how they're going for a NASA punk style. And to be honest, I maybe got a little bit of that vibe. I don't know if they failed, but I didn't feel like when I was playing Starfield, I didn't feel like I was necessarily immersed in a NASA-inspired world space as much as when I was playing Fallout 3 or Skyrim, that I was being immersed in the case of Fallout 3, a 1950s horror sci-fi setting, or with Skyrim, a medieval Scandinavian setting. To me, in Starfield, everything just kind of existed. And I think that really makes sense when you go to Neon. What is the other one? Aquila City, and what is the one that is... What's the one that just looks like your typical, like, sci-fi utopia city? I can't remember the name of that one. I think Aquila City is just like the cowboy Wild West. I'm like, okay, I mean, whatever you want to do, I guess, but I just feel like they put things in Starfield for the sake of putting things into Starfield. And they didn't even put that much into Starfield. It is so generic. Starfield is so unbelievably generic. Every single thing. The problem with Starfield is that it doesn't do anything better than any other game. It's crazy to me. I'm going to close the stream off on this comment because it is past time for me to end the stream, but I want to end the stream with this one thought. Hold on, let's go to our internet browser. Lego Skywalker Saga. Okay. So this game came out (2022). When did Starfield come? It came out in 2023, but what month? Starfield. September of 2023. Okay. So, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga came out over a year before Starfield. I don't know if you've played Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and if you've played Starfield, you will realize that all of the space exploration in Starfield is on the same level as Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. There's almost no difference to it. If you go to a planet, there's no interstellar travel that you do yourself. It's all loading screen. And once you're in the orbit of a planet, there's no interplanetary travel, there's no interstellar travel. It's a loading screen. Once you get into the orbit of a planet, if you want to land at the planet, you have to go through another loading screen. That's how Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga plays. But here's the thing. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga was not advertising itself as doing anything more than that. Starfield was. And Bethesda was talking about how they wanted to wait. Todd Howard himself said they waited to make Starfield to where they had the technology in order to do what they wanted to do. And I think when I hear that, you are so technologically behind of every other single game developer. If your version of technically impressive is let's put a loading screen between interplanetary and interstellar travel and a load screen between being in the orbit of a planet and going to the surface of the planet, when Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga does the exact same thing over a year before Starfield came out. And in the case of No Man's Sky, as you mentioned, No Man's Sky doesn't have loading screens. Isn't that crazy? And No Man's Sky is how old? I know No Man's Sky came out like absolutely broken and it took them years to fix it, but when did No Man's Sky get to the point where it was playable as it was advertised? Because that was far ahead of Starfield. So my question to Bethesda is, how far behind are you technically in terms of developing new technology for your games? Because it seems like you are not keeping up. You are at best a decade behind everybody else. If you're boasting about how you've had to wait this long to develop the technology to do what you did with Starfield. In my personal opinion, I don't think graphics are the issue. I don't play games for the graphics. And I'm not saying that most people do. Graphics are still a important aspect of a game because they are a selling point. Most people don't want to look at an ugly game. For me, I don't really, graphics isn't really something that, sways my opinion one way or the other, because I grew up playing like Nintendo 64 and GameCube and original Xbox and PlayStation 2. So like I don't really and even the Nintendo Entertainment System, that was the only console I had for like 9 years. So I'm not somebody who gets really excited over graphics. I think Bethesda has a gameplay issue where they aren't able to create gameplay systems that are technically impressive. I don't think it's an issue necessarily with their game engine, because if they wanted to, they could hire they could hire software developers to add new features to their engine. I don't think it's an engine issue. I think it is them wanting to do the bare minimum, not just with the game, but their engine. Because there are so many. I mean, if you go to Google, or you could ask an AI like Grok to aggregate information for you of what are all of the different open source technologies that modern games take advantage of. Like, what are some procedural generation algorithms? What are some rendering technologies that are modern that we could be taking advantage of? Just go to Google Just ask an AI, and you could say, you could think to yourself, wow, this new way of building terrain, we don't have that currently implemented in our engine. This way of generating navigation meshes and pathfinding for AI, we don't have that currently implemented. But if we research this, these different algorithms that every other studio is using, that could really serve us well. And it's not like, I mean, if you want to figure out how to implement something in a game engine, just go to GitHub. There almost every single thing exists on GitHub. I'm not, now there are of course proprietary technologies that still exist in certain game engines. I realize that, but most of the time if you go to GitHub and you look stuff up, like, you can put pieces together and you learn more. And I don't think that Bethesda is putting any effort into truly upgrading their engine. Like, they update how far the render distance can be. They update how many objects can be rendered on screen at one given time, but what they're not updating is stuff like level streaming, stuff like navigation for AI agents. It's, when I played Starfield, I couldn't believe how many times Sarah Morgan, the only other character in the game that I can remember the name of, because she was my follower, I couldn't believe how many times she got stuck on a wall because her navigation just broke. For a game that came out in 2023, a AAA game, a game that is backed by Microsoft, is absolutely unacceptable. And that is an engine issue that they refuse to fix. It's an engine issue that they could fix because they own the engine. They can make whatever changes they want to it. Like, I will, okay, let me finish this. This will be the last thing I say, and then I have to go. But I don't know that much about Skyrim modding, the Skyrim creation kit, but I do know that nav creating, you just about have to manually create nav meshes for cells being like regions of the world, physical regions. You just about have to manually make the nav meshes by hand because the automatic nav mesh generation in the creation kit doesn't work. It's broken and will most likely result in the creation kit crashing without giving you any results. The Godot engine is an open source community made game engine, and it can do automatic nav mesh generation just fine. It's insane that Godot can do that and Bethesda's in-house engine cannot. It tries to, and sometimes it succeeds. Most of the time it doesn't. And I think that's what most people mean when they talk about how the creation engine is so behind and outdated and Bethesda needs to stop using it. I don't think Bethesda needs to stop using it. I think they just need to put in effort to actually fix it and modernize it. I don't think that if they switch to Unreal Engine or any other third-party engine that their problems are just going to be automatically resolved. I think it is a issue of no collaboration between people working in the studio. It is an issue of gross mismanagement of the studio, and it is them not wanting to put any more effort than what is absolutely necessary to get a product out. And switching to Unreal Engine is not going to fix that issue for them. Yeah. Not only gaming, but film, television as well. Unreal Engine is used as a rendering technology for a lot of television shows and movies, from my understanding. I think at some point the Unreal Engine bubble will. I think it's possible that the Unreal Engine bubble will burst at some point. I just don't know when that's going to happen. I think eventually you will have competitors to Unreal Engine that isn't Unity or Godot. Unity and Godot are like the real. Unity is really the only competitor against Unreal Engine. You could argue that Godot is to an extent, but Godot still has quite a bit of ways to go before it is regularly implemented by developers that are not indie. Like you did have Battlefield 6 uses the Godot engine as a map editor for user-made maps, which is cool. Like that shows that the Godot engine is starting to be adopted by AAA studios. I still think it has a long ways to go before it gets widespread adoption, but Unity is also really good at shooting themselves in the foot, so I don't know if Unity will ever be able to be the best competitor it can be against Unreal Engine. I would say probably the most likely prospect of a Unreal Engine competitor would be when Valve does I don't even think Source 2 is like openly available. If they made Source 2 publicly available, if the whole like stuff about Half-Life 3 coming out soon is true, which I think is mostly just hopium, you know, the Source 2 engine was very it was made pretty public, the original Source engine. So if they make like the Source 2 or Source 3 engine publicly available, I think that could be a possible competitor to Unreal Engine. Anyway, I better end the stream here because I have gone actually an hour over my intended time. Mainly because I just had fun talking, but I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow. I don't know. Depends on how much work I get done off stream on this stuff and also other stuff I have to do. But thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah, go check that out. I do think that is one of the better Halo CE mods that has come out recently. After playing Silent Cartographer and Halo, I don't think it has changed a little bit too much, but I feel like when I played Assault on the... Because I think I played Assault on the Control Room. I feel like that had quite a few changes to it that were a little surprising. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. I'm going to peace out hop out of here, and if you're not already subscribed, subscribe. I have to say that because I'm on YouTube, and that's what people who make YouTube videos and streams have to say. So, anyway, I think I will go now. I will stop. I don't know how to end streams or videos. I'm really bad at that, so I'm gonna go for real this time. See ya. Might stream tomorrow, might not. Probably stream later this week at some point. So, yeah, thanks. Good night. Good night, everybody.